Hour with breaking news. The Oregon Supreme Court just ruled that state senators who walked out of the Oregon legislature cannot seek re-election.
You might remember during last year's legislative session, a group of 10 senators took part in a Republican-led walkout. Well, now it looks like they will not be allowed on the ballot this year. Fox 12's Bonnie Silkman is live in studio with much more on what this means. Bonnie?
Yeah, good morning. 10 Oregon senators who took part in the longest legislative walkout in state history are now being barred from running for re-election. We've never seen this before. It's the first time this has happened in the state.
Republican senators are being banned from running for re-election. Welcome to Nerk News. I'm Nerkish. Today we're going to take a few minutes to discuss a shocking story from Oregon and what this means for the Republican Party moving forward. So let's get to the story. The state Supreme Court of Oregon just ruled that almost all of the Republican senators in the state are now banned from running for re-election. That's 90%.
It's all because of a new state law. That ruling, by the way, just handed down from the state Supreme Court. The measure bars lawmakers from running for re-election if they have 10 or more unexcused absences. So that's really what this all boils down to. Oregon Secretary of State ruled that lawmakers who took part in the boycott last year could not be on the 2024 ballot. Now, some of those lawmakers did challenge that measure, arguing that the language of the ballot measure said that they couldn't run in the next election, not this upcoming one for 2024. But again, the Oregon Supreme Court now siding with the Secretary of State. So we know that 10 lawmakers, a third of the state Senate, is now barred from seeking re-election. Those lawmakers are all Republicans except for one independent.
Well, that's mighty convenient. Now, why have Republicans been staging walkouts? Well, I don't want to get into the minutia of Oregon's politics, but there are 11 counties in western and southern Oregon that are very much at odds with the values of the people in Portland. People in these conservative areas basically had to live with their state politics being dominated by people in Portland and Salem. Republicans only hold 37% of the state Senate, and there's no filibuster, so they're basically helpless to do anything. However, Oregon is one of the few states that requires the Senate to have a 2/3 quorum in order to conduct legislative business. So Republicans are walking out to jam up progressive legislation from being passed in the chamber. Now, Texas is the only other state where this tactic can work because it doesn't have an overwhelming majority. And if you recall, in 2021, Democrats literally fled the state and flew to DC to stop the voter integrity bill from going through, and they were praised as heroes by the national media. That doesn't appear to be the case here. So what have these senators been skipping sessions on? Basically, every hot button issue you can imagine, from Second Amendment rights to the life issue to, let's call them alphabet kids. Basically things I can't talk about because we're on YouTube. Needless to say, it's Oregon, so you can imagine how far left some of those topics are. Naturally, the left couldn't let this stand, so they passed Measure 113 that amends the state constitution to bar lawmakers from re-election if they have more than 10 unexcused absences. And as soon as the ink was dried on that, they pushed through all those bills on controversial issues, because why wouldn't they? Just more sleazy tactics from the left. And I know you might not think this matters, but it's immensely important because it's preventing elected officials from representing the interest of their constituents, and stuff like this is happening all over. But let me know what you think. Do state and local politics matter in the grand scheme of things? Are there any shady stories like this in your area? Let me know in the comments. Until then, this has been Nerk News. Boy!